March the 4th, 2024. We have in attendance tonight with us the following city officials.
Mayor Jamie Sloots.
Here.
Law Director Justin Richard.
Present.
Director of Development Ted Hurricane.
Here.
Safety Service Director Renee Baker.
Here.
Is there anyone from administration I missed? That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Under number 5 this evening on the agenda is where the public can speak on any item that appears on tonight's agenda. And then under number 17 is where the public can speak on any item that does not appear on tonight's agenda. I want to remind anyone with a cell phone at this time to please turn it down and or set it to vibrate. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Brian Huth.
Present.
Kramer.
Present.
Cunningham.
Present.
Gregg. Harvey Smith.
Here.
Lewis.
Present.
Lombardi.
Here.
Ray.
Here.
And Snead.
Here.
Roll call of 8 present.
Councilman Lombardi, may I get a motion, please, to excuse Mr. Gray?
Yes, I make a motion that we excuse Mr. Gray.
May I get a second? Councilman Ray? Roll call, please.
Kramer.
Yes.
Cunningham.
Yes.
Harvard Smith.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Lombardi.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Snead.
Yes.
And Brian Huth.
Yes.
8 yes to excuse Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, the invocation, Councilwoman Holly Bryant.
Join me in the Lord's Prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Booth. We appreciate that. Reading of the journal, Madam Clerk, is the minutes of the previous meeting transcribed and open for public review.
Yes, they are.
Are there any additions or corrections that need to be made?
No, there are not.
Then the minutes stand approved as written. Number 5, remarks and delegations of citizens to matters on the agenda. This is the part of the agenda where the community may speak on a topic that appears on tonight's agenda. If you would like to speak on something on this agenda for tonight, please state your name, the ward you live in, the topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments to 4 minutes or less. You're welcome to Steve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, Steve.
Actually, right there.
Right there. You can sign it right there.
My name's Steve Bookman. I'm a local businessman here in town. I got highway tire. I live at Groves Patch, which is Perry Township. It's not massive. It's the property adjacent to where they're gonna build a Bitcoin place. Couple topics I'd like to highlight tonight is the water issue and the zoning. So what we have, I got 2 homes and a creek. Walnut Creek comes right between both my properties. Goes through there, goes across into Industrial Park, and it goes under the bridge back behind the electric company. Well, this creek floods. I mean, this creek, when it rains, it floods. Floods both my homes out. I've had 3 feet of water in my basement. So, about 2016 is when I started ringing the bell for the water alarm. I've had Massillon City out there. I had Petro's representatives, Stark County engineers, everybody out there to help me fix this problem. Everything fell on deaf ears, nothing happened. The creek goes across under the road, and and it goes behind the electric company onto the Old Republic Steel property, and it's plugged. It doesn't go anywhere from there. The water, nobody even knows how the water gets to the river. There's no tunnel, there's no pipe. It's mysteriously going down through the ground, okay? So that's our problem. It only takes so much at a time. Albrecht Road gets 2 to 3 feet of water over it. Whenever we get now, if it's a slow rain, it'll handle it. But if we get a flash rain of like 2 inches to 3 inches, it can't handle it. Backs up in my yard. I've had 3 feet of water in my basement. Brand new homes I built. 2 homes get water in their basement. So it goes down there, it doesn't go anywhere. Now, if they add any more water to it, which they want to do with this building, this will be 28 acres of concrete and roof. They keep telling you guys that they're going to catch it in a pond. A retention pond, I do excavate. A retention pond, all it does is catch the water. At the bottom of the pond, there'll be a 12-inch pipe that lets the water drain out. Fills up, drains out. So now we're going to add 28 acres of water to an already plugged pipe that my creek has to flow into. And they're going to take the storm sewers, and I'd say about 1975, they started building the industrial park behind my house. They had plans of making that road go all the way through there to Albrecht, and then make it in small sections for small businesses back there. Well, they stopped. So ever since then, your guys' storm sewers from these roads has been emptying into this lot where they want to build this property, and it's been soaking into the ground. Working fine. 50 years. Now they want to build this and that pipe they want to build for you guys for free, and I believe they said 40-inch culvert. They're going to go around, catch all the water, take it right around 9th Street, right up Auburn, and dump it right into the power station. Now mind you, this water, nobody knows where it goes. It just goes down somewhere. So that's going to be a problem. All the storm water that was never going in there is going to be going in there now. All the water from all these buildings, all these roofs, into this pond, draining right into there and my creek. There is no way that this can happen. I'm already flooding my home out. And I've been ringing this water alarm bell since 2016. I mean, a long time. And it fell on deaf ears. And I told them that, so I don't even know how this project even got this far without somebody down here coming to you guys and saying, listen, we got a water problem out here. That creek has to flow no matter what. It ain't going to stop flowing. It's going to keep coming through my property. So if you build this down there and you overload that, you're going to flood me out, both my homes, and who knows what else. And what do we do when one day we get up and wherever the water's going, it don't go no more? Whatever little bit's still working, what if it quits working? Then what are we going to do? No easy fix. To replace this culvert, you'd have to dig all the way behind the electric company, all the way down under railroad tracks and come out, clear down the river. Now this is a monumental effort. It would take beaver excavating and the Army Corps engineer to pull this off. I couldn't even imagine the cost. And that's the problem, and that's where the can keeps getting kicked down the road. Petro does not let anybody on his property even look at it, and he refuses to fix it, flat out. So it's basically being held hostage, that piece of property. And it's a big issue for the city, because now what are you going to do when you deliver all your storm sewers over there and it doesn't go anywhere? How would you even do that? That doesn't even make good sense. So, I don't know how much time I got, but I want to bring up the zoning. I want to bring up the zoning. This is an I-2 business, and they want to put an I-1 area. This is light industrial. When they put this in the 70s, it was for small businesses. King Machine, Electric Cord, Hartville Kitchen, all the business out there, Martin Pallet, been working great. 3 or 4 acre lot businesses is what this industrial park was built for. It's for people here in town to have a place to have a business. Now they want to put 28 acres, they want to combine lots, buy up a bunch of ground, make 28 acres, and make it a large business. This needs to be built, and I tried to tell them that. They said, I told them when they come out, I said, listen, you guys need to build across the street. They got Massillon Technology Park right across the street on 9th Street. 350, 400 plus acres. For sale, they're advertising. This project, if you guys insist and you like it, and it moves forward. It has to be built over there. If you don't, you're gonna cause yourself a lot of problems. Because your water, you have nowhere to get rid of your street water. That's the bottom line.
Thank you.
And there's no denying it, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank
Please,
you.
please sign your name on that paper right there, would you please? Howdy.
Hi, Tim Phillips. I live on 1465 Albert Street, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in the city limits of Massillon besides Perry folks that are here today. I live at the corner on this property, and the only thing there's definitely a water issue. There's no doubt about it. This place been flooding out for as long as I remember. I've been here over 40 years, but we do have another issue. I mean, we have wetlands in there. We have a creek that runs through there, and we have a floodplain that runs through there. Not only that, they took the trees out today all the way to the creek. So now you're going to get more sediment to plug up what's not going through. So you're going to, there's a worse problem going on. Not only that, there's a capped well, oil and gas well on that property, right by the creek in the floodplain. And they're going to take them trees out and remove that dirt. Now we have another issue. I made some emails today. I contacted EPA and Division of Wildlife to come take a look. Because they moved that sediment. This tank's been leaking for 40 years. They just removed it within the last 10 years. They removed the pump 20 years ago, but they didn't move the tank. The tank leaked all through this ground. So if they start digging that dirt off, and that's the dirt they want to use to fill in the creek, that they're trying to, where the road is supposed to be. They're going to use that dirt. We was told they're going to use that dirt. But if they use that dirt, it's already it's contaminated. And that's going to flow in the creek, it's going to flow down the river. That's why I contacted EPA today to come take a look. So there's a lot bigger issues than what you think. It's just not the water. We got well issues too. I know they plugged one just last month that was operating and producing money. They plugged it. This one was built back, I can't even tell you, probably 50s. And they took it out because it was getting water in, because it was in a floodplain. It probably wasn't a floodplain back in the 50s, but it is now. So if you move that dirt, you got bigger issues. So, and hopefully that somebody in the city council or somebody also needs to call the EPA and Division of Wildlife, just not me. Because they may not answer me, but they'll answer somebody in city council, or higher up. We might get a better response. So that's all I'm asking.
Appreciate that.
Okay?
Thank you.
Hi. Well, Scott Smith. I live at, whatever it is, 17th Street Southwest, Ward 5. We've had an anonymous citizen make a trip down to Tennessee about the Bit Deer facility, and under the I-1 Light Industrial, Section 4 or Section 3, it says remote manufacturing development which is free from danger of fires, explosions, toxic and noxious matter, radiation, and other hazards, and from offensive noise and vibration. They took a video in Tennessee, and this is the noise that the Bit Deer facility makes. I live a half a mile from this. I'm going to hear it. I drove around today. Tim Phillips is not the only Massillon resident that's affected by this. There's over 70 people in Ward 5 that's going to be affected by this sound. It never stops. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Everybody's going to hear this. We're going to go from a nice, tranquil backyard, peaceful, quiet, to this for the rest of our lives if you guys pass this. It never stops. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Never stops. Never. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? All right, seeing none, we move on. New and miscellaneous business. Question was asked at the February 20th meeting, 2024, in regards to the EEO officer. Do they have an answer to that? Mr. Lewis?
Sure, President Slater. I know this has been brought up a few times, and we're trying to get a clear answer. I figured the best way to respond to this would be to provide a little bit of background for newer members of council and for the public. In 2022, late 2022, it was brought to council at the recommendation or council of our law department that the configuration at that time was that we had an EEO officer and our civil service officer were all in one position. And that was how it was being managed. Due to the way it's supposed to be arranged as far as the oversight of each of those offices individually, that was deemed not appropriate and had to be broken apart in order that we would have proper oversight or supervision of those two positions. So council did do that in late 2022. In 2023, if the EEO officer position was not filled by the administration that was in office at that time. Coming into 2024, that position is still left open, but I have spoken with the administration and they do value what this position does bring to the city. However, the reality is that this position only warrants maybe about 20 hours a week. So what they're doing is trying to see how they can use it, have this position as well as other job functions that are important and bring value to the city, so they can create a full-time position that would be more lucrative and valuable to people who want to apply. Obviously, if you have a full-time position, you're going to get the best candidates to come in because you have the better pay and you have the benefits. As it stands now, it would be a part-time position without any benefits. So in speaking with the administration, they're currently evaluating a few other needs within the city that they think would gain value to us, and they would bring a proposal to us once they have something configured that would make sense for the city and would also address this issue.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Up next is,
Miscellaneous, I'm sorry. Other new and miscellaneous business?
what's that?
Other new and miscellaneous business?
Yes, still there. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to take a moment. We do a lot of celebration of our students in this community. I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate our cheerleaders who just took state runner-up this past weekend in the building competition. I'm not sure what building is, but I do know what runner-up at a state competition means. And that's a pretty awesome feat for our girl athletes down there. So just want to take a moment to recognize them as well.
Thank you. Mr. Lombardi, will you address the committee reassigns, please?
Thank you, President Slater. Since we're welcoming Councilwoman Brian Huth, we have to get the appointments for committees straightened around here. So I want to make a motion to remove Councilman Lewis from Public Utilities and Environmental as chairperson. At that point, Councilwoman Brian Huth as chair of Public Utilities and Environmental. Let's see here. Remove myself from Public Utilities and Environmental and move Councilman Lewis into that slot. And then remove Councilman Snee from Rules and Courts and Civil Service and put Councilwoman Brian Huth in there. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Should have started at the top. And then remove Mr. Lewis from Parks and Recreation and put Councilwoman Brian Huth in there. Any questions?
Diane, can you please give everyone possible the new group?
Yes.
Hang on.
on the committee, replacing Ed Lewis on Parks and Recreation.
Correct.
And then rules, courts, we're taking off SME.
Correct.
Thank you.
I get a second, please. Councilman Lewis?
Cunningham,
Yes.
Harvard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Smee,
Yes.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
and Kramer.
Yes.
8 yes to approve the proposed changes to the Massillon City Council committees.
And we'll move forward with that, and get that passed, please, for passage.
No, we just have 8 yes to approve the,
So we're good? Okay, it is passed. Okay, good. Moving on to item number 7, introduction of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 28-2024.
an ordinance to accept the dedication and road right-of-way and easements for Canyon Creek Estates Phase 4 subdivision, Massillon, Ohio.
Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, President Snyder. As stated, this request is to accept the dedication of the road right-of-way and easement of Canyon Creek Estates, Phase 4. The City Planning Commission approved this plat for the subdivision on the February 14th meeting. This request includes the dedication of 1.27 acres of roadways, including extension of the Huron Creek Street and the Worcester Creek Street Northwest. There will be 26 additional platted lots in this subdivision, and it's currently zoned R-1 single-family residential. We did have the developer, Mr. Bob Lockhart, present at our work session, giving us an overview of this request. Do council members have any questions or concerns regarding this request this time?
I do.
Councilwoman Harper Smith?
Thank you, President Slater. I have multiple concerns. This is going to be a 220 megawatt facility, 26 buildings.
Point of order.
What? 20. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong ordinance. No questions.
First reading.
No more questions? Okay, ordinance number 28-2024. Move for first reading. Ordinance number 29-2024.
An ordinance to accept the replat, vacation, dedication of easements for Whitetail Creek Development, Massillon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, President Slater. As stated, this request is to accept the replat and vacation dedication of easement for the Whitetail Creek. This site is located on the northwest corner of the 9th Street Southwest and Albrecht Avenue. The City Planning Commission did approve the said replat and easement plat at the February 14th meeting. It is zoned I-1 industrial. We had Mr. Paul Hansen, the project manager, present, along with the civil engineer, Mr. Kevin Noble, present at the work session, giving us an overview of this request. I did receive 2 phone calls after the meeting, Monday night and Tuesday morning, from council members that had questions regarding this. At this time, do either of those council members want to bring their questions forward? Mr. Hernkane is here, along with, I believe, Amy Hopkins from First Energy to answer any questions.
how that would impact our grid. And in the case of failing power in the community, would this company essentially receive precedence, meaning that residential people would not have the power they needed in the case of emergency?
Councilman Kramer?
Can we please ask Ms. Amy Hawkins to come forward to answer Mr. Lewis's questions and concerns?
Please.
Members of the council, thank you for having me. Members of council, thank you for having me. So to answer your question, we did do a load study back in July of 2023. The study determined that they requested 220 megawatts, and they requested that it can be served from First Energy's transmission substation without causing any reliability issues. We also elected to install a new breaker, and that will strictly feed and isolate mid deer. So what it will do, it will take from our transmission station, and it will take a line straight to mid deer substation. And from there, they'll step it down and do what they need to do. That does not come anywhere near the population of Massillon.
Councilman Ryan Booth?
Thank you. What, if any, because of the demand from this proposed building, how would that affect any energy costs in our area?
It will not affect any energy costs.
Councilman Steen?
Thank you, President Slater. So it's on its own breaker, so if it ever does overload, it absolutely will not impact any of the residents in Harry Township,
That is
Tuscarawas
correct.
Township, Massillon. Okay. I did receive a few calls about that. I think that's all I got for now. Thank you.
Councilwoman Hopper Smith?
So are they running a line, or are they putting a whole substation on the property?
So Big Deer is putting in their own substation. They will own that. They will maintain that. We will only provide transmission line to them, and then from there, they will step it down or do whatever they need to do on their side.
Have you guys already entered into a contract with them?
No, we have done the load study.
So there's no need for a contract, but there was one facility in Texas where, like, when the energy demands got up and they needed to, back off of their energy if they couldn't supply to them because they needed to supply it, like, they actually had to pay the mining company. So you're not signing any
No,
contracts or
I'm
anything
not
like
aware of any
that?
contracts being signed.
Okay.
Councilman Party?
So I've heard these have been set up in other areas, and the contract's made with the power suppliers, and I'm not saying it's First Energy or anybody, but I just want to make sure that whether or not this is a possibility here, but that the contracts were drawn up to where if something would happen that they did not get power, that the power company would be paying them a daily rate until power was restored. Is that a possibility with this company?
I've
Because
never heard of that.
I'm just afraid of demand going on with, let's say we're 97 degrees and everybody's running their air conditioning and they're ramped up their operations, and I just want to make sure that they're not going to be getting precedence over the residents in the immediate area.
No, they have their own dedicated line from our transmission line, and from there, they own that substation, so that's their power plant. That's they do what they want there.
Councilman Gregg?
So just to clarify, if they're taking the energy, the power from First Energy, is with the line that is running directly to their station, it's a dedicated line with a certain amount of wattage that's going to them.
That's
They
correct.
can't oversee that. They can't go past that. If they do, if there's a blackout or they overpower themselves and they have a blackout, only they will be turned out.
It's on them.
Okay.
Yes, that is it.
Thank you.
Massillon.
To residents, to industrial, to commercial residents that we feed, no.
So if something would happen to their power station, their power, they're responsible to fix that power station,
Yes.
and they would be down.
They are.
They would not be
Yes.
able to capture any other power from our substation because
That is correct.
they are going to be running solely on their power station.
Yes, that is correct.
Councilwoman Cunningham?
Thank you, President Slater. Did I understand correctly that the city works with the electric company and the gas company, we have an aggregate, so we get a special price? Did I understand correctly that this company coming in will not raise those prices because of them?
So I work on the regulated side. I do not work on the aggregate side. So I don't know if they are going to have an aggregate for their power. That's on them. But your rates with First Energy are not going to be, they're not going to rise because this company is coming in.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions?
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Are there any other additional questions from anyone at this time?
Councilman Ray?
Yes, I did a little bit of research and I was looking at carbon emissions and obviously the noises that the residents were speaking of. The possible idea that the noises would be unbearable. I believe that throughout the process, I was wondering if through their water emissions, would they still supplement with cyclones? Because if they're building the structure from ground up, they have the ability to make it however they want to. And if we can contain or regulate how it's constructed, will we have that access to be able to say, hey, they did put water emissions in and not cyclones? Or, so I think that's my question. My question is, do we have a way of knowing that it's going to actually be water emissions or cyclones?
Councilman Creamer?
I know the request in front of us is just the replat
Right.
for this dedication of the easement, but Mr. Hurricane, could you elaborate or answer anything? I know we're in the initial phase of this project. Things to consider moving forward.
Mr. President, Mrs. Kramer, members of council, thank you for clarifying that. But yes, the ordinance in front of you is strictly for the replat, relocating two easements and combining a couple lots. There is a lot of steps of governmental approval that needs to come into play before ground is broken, if we even get there. Preliminary plans will be sent to the city engineer's office. There will be conversation back and forth. I would say extensively on this. There usually are comments back and forth on any industrial or manufacturing or building project for that degree. So there will be extensive, by passing this is not saying that this is going to be a go. This is the first step to allow that design to take place and those conversations to be had. And I've digested all the questions and comments from council and from people over the last 2 weeks on this. So if we get to that stage where we are looking at a site plan review meeting or approvals, we'll certainly take all those things into consideration. Mrs. Hopkins did, I think, a very good job of explaining from the energy standpoint. The site plan review process looks at the water retention and mitigation plan on that site. So there's a lot of steps still to come, and there's a lot of questions to be answered, and we'll do that if we get there. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome. This is great.
Sorry.
And just to clarify, I know Mr. Tim Phillips brought up calling the EPA. I believe Mr. Noble also made a statement that they brought in to do soil studies also last year, if I recall correctly. So I just wanted to verify that piece, that there has been some communication and some work done with that soil.
That's my understanding from what I heard last week from Mr. Noble as well.
Any additional questions from council members?
Councilman Smith?
As far as the soil samples, I'd be interested to see where they took them from, because I was told that there were holes from the soil samples, but none of them were in the area where they actually dumped the building 9, which concerns me if that's the case. I don't know if you can see the report, like the previous owner took soil samples, but where he took them from, he didn't take them from the 100-foot pit that they put building 9 in. I don't know, that's just what I heard. My other concerns are obviously the water issue. It's, that area, I mean, it is, because if it's plugged, all the water where they're putting concrete is where how the water absorbs. So when they say, you know, think that's all being concrete, maybe building a pond or whatever, but that's still where the water, you're taking away all that area of absorption when you're filling it with concrete. And then there's the whole noise issue of anything over 50 decibels can cause cardiovascular complications, headache, vertigo, hearing loss, mental health issues, nausea, sleep problems. This is next to a residential neighborhood. We have I-1 light industrial zoning, and we have I-2 general industrial zoning. These are I-1 light industrial zonings. I'm just going to read a couple little lines, but this is chapter 1169 and chapter 1171 under our city ordinances, if anybody wants to look them up. But the intent of I-1 light industrial is designed so as to primarily accommodate wholesale activities, warehouses, and industrial operations whose external physical effects, say that again, whose external physical effects are restricted to the area of the district and in no manner affect in a detrimental way any of the surrounding districts. The general goals of light industrial, I'm not going to read them all, but I'll speak to number 2, is to protect abutting residential districts by separating them from manufacturing activities and by prohibiting the use of such industrial areas for new residential development. So we're protecting the residents going in there, but it's like industrial 1's kind of the buffer between residential and industrial. The other thing is number 3, light industrial manufacturing development, which is free from danger of fire, explosion, toxic and noxious manner, radiation, and other hazards, and from offensive noise and vibration, smoke, odor, and other objectionable influences. As opposed to industrial district, which they really want to be in Massillon. We have almost 500 acres of industrial area that's available for industrial 2. Industrial 2 is designed primarily for manufacturing, assembling, and fabrication activities, including large-scale or specialized industrial operations, whose external physical effects will be felt to some degree by the surrounding districts. So if it's loud and making vibrations and a nuisance and 24/7 noise, it's okay. It's an industrial 2. It's expected to feel some degree of noise. I don't feel this is the proper site. I don't feel this 24 acres is, much of it is viable to be used at all. So I'm not comfortable putting it together. I really think it's not that this cannot go here. And we have a responsibility to educate ourselves, to get as much information. And they're coming in here, and I guess, I don't know, when did this start, Ted? Did it started with the previous administration? Because we never heard of anything until last week when it was brought to council. As far as when did this project start?
They did have discussions with the prior administration who did not want to move on it. And then they contacted us the first of the year.
Okay. Well, I think, we have a responsibility. The crypto mining industry is new. It was outlawed in China for a reason. And so now they're flooding into the United States over the past 4 years. And I have read article after article. I've watched videos. There's videos from CNN, from Fox, local news stations, interviewing people, how this has ruined their life, ruined the area, up to 1-2 miles. Now, if they're talking about waste containment, they've got some of the biggest facilities. One of their own solutions that they were reading of how to control the noise is to locate it in remote areas. not in the middle of a city. Rockdale, their biggest facility, is in the middle of basically nowhere. Their closest city has a population of 5,000. You can look it up on the area. It's all by itself. It ain't, you know, and they, you know, if anyone is close, it's still overwhelming. There were neighbors who went down to Tennessee, to Knoxville, which is going to be half the size of this plant. And it was so loud that they don't want to disclose who they are because they're getting out. Because they're so afraid this is going to come in, harm them, harm their children, harm their bodies, harm their physical well-being. You know, so I really, it's new. We don't have like specific names, but I think this really, if you guys really want to bring this to Massillon, which I think they're not offering us nothing. You know, they're going to earn, you know, some of them, they earn 30 million a month. What's that, $1 million a day? Maybe they won't up, down, or whatever. They're making tons of money. Mr. Wu, who owns this, is the second richest man in the bit mining industry in China. You know, it's not like they need this. This is free. And all this money is going back to Singapore. You know, when they first talked to the residents, and they made a meeting which no one could get on, so but 2 people, and nobody could get on because there was no access code, they initially told them 40, 50 jobs. So now they're telling us 70. You know, they initially told them that they're going to be bringing in all their own people. One facility I read about that they could only confirm that there was 4 jobs that were provided locally. So how many jobs is it really going to supply? We really don't know. But what is the benefit to our city? What is the benefit? There's more danger and more harm, and we could face more lawsuits. And when you say there's one resident, well, these are our neighbors. You know, Mr. Bookman has had a business in Massillon for almost 25 years. They all work in Massillon. They are part of this community. They've gone to Tusslaw and Massillon schools. You know, and so they deserve the same respect. But you drive around, you know, my house is just barely over half a mile. If this travels a mile or two, then, you know, you already got noises, but I mean, they have a constant. And so you go around and you drive around, and there's actually probably over 60 homes that could be affected. If they don't, you know, and they got their new plans to lower it and get things to contain the sound, and that's great. But there's no guarantees. And as of this date, none of their facilities are quiet. None. So if anything, I mean, I hope you guys really think about this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Herc, you may respond.
Okay, I guess the first thing, I don't know if you want me to hit on all that, but I would say, other than the neighborhood that is in Perry Township on the other side of the corporation limits, this is probably the most remote, desolate, industrialized area in the city. Fifth Rock Industrial Park is immediately north, the former Republic site is immediately east, and there's a First Energy substation to the south. So the location actually is appropriate for it. Regarding the I-1 zoning, if you look at 1169.02J, it states under permitted uses, it lists all the permitted uses. It says other uses of a similar and no more objectionable character to the above uses. I think that one could reasonably argue that data centers or computer servers are less objectionable than a factory if that was going to be next door to you. Regarding the size, there are facilities throughout this country and the world, frankly, that are very, very large, 200,000 to 300,000 square feet. This is nowhere near that. And I don't think they ever acknowledge that these buildings don't make noise. I think they acknowledge that they do make noise, and through the site plan and plan review process, there is a decibel level that is appropriate in an I-1 area. I don't know what that number is off the top of my head, but we will ensure that those sounds are within the allowable limits. The water, yes, there is a water issue south of the First Energy substation. Engineering can trace back through maps through the 30s, 40s, 50s. I think they pinpointed around 1950 or early 50s when Republic covered or closed in a ditch that caused some water issues south of the parcel owned by First Energy. There are some water issues north and to the west of the neighborhood that's in Perry Township. And if you look at the contours of that, water flows the way it flows. It doesn't flow uphill, it flows downhill. If you look at their site, and again, they bought this site knowing detention or retention of the water runoff on their site, which is what they're responsible for. They're well aware that there's some areas there that are of significant interest to them, which is why they're going to put their stormwater retention plan, their detention basin. Of course, all of that has to get approved by the city engineering office as well. So I hope that at least touches on, hopefully, most of your questions or comments.
No.
Not at all.
Not even close.
I don't even live near
Yeah, I'm the one flooding. My house is the one.
Oh, there's one more thing I could add if I did. What Massillon gets out of this is 70 jobs that will pay approximately $50,000 a year or so. So there's tax revenue, collections with that, and significant resources for the Tuslaw School District through their $100+ million investment. So that's what we get out of it.
Oh, my God.
Councilman Kramer?
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Any additional questions from council?
Councilman Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. Slater. Mrs. Smith, you mentioned that these mines are denied in China. Do you know why?
Because of the energy usage, the noise, and one of the things that the carbon footprint, which is hard to link to China, but part of it too, I don't know, I really don't know all the reasons, but they banned them and went out on them. Because they have problems already with their infrastructure, most likely.
Thank you.
And we really, as you look, I mean, the states, that are having problems, once it's built, the plane's just going dead ears. No one does anything about it. They can't, because the laws aren't in place in this country. The legislation isn't in place in the states, in the local communities, in the local governments. There's no ordinances. There's no ruling. So they're coming in and just doing whatever. Which, it's great and fine, but I mean, I really stress the point that, I1 Industrial abuts against residential districts and is not supposed to be this. And they cannot, right now, all their facilities, like they're saying they're going to make these changes to make it quieter, but there is no guarantee. Because right now, 100% of all facilities are loud. And this is a big facility.
This is a first reading, correct?
I'm not there yet, but I was.
I think so.
So I think we need to research
Keep moving.
and keep moving. We need to look at, like Julie pointed out, the I-1 versus I-2. We have to look at what our ordinances say regarding noise pollution. These are the things that we need to do. Water, I'd like Mr. Pitts to come at work session because I have more questions about what we heard this evening. Hopefully he has experience with this type of situation. So we have additional questions that we need to address. So yes, I'm giving the first reading tonight. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Ordinance number 30-2024.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Parks and Recreation on behalf of the Massillon Recreation Board of Massillon, Ohio, to advertise for and receive sealed bids and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder upon the approval of the Board of Control for the Recreation Center Fitness Equipment Replacement Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Harvey Smith?
Thank you. This is estimated project cost of $125,000. The cardio equipment in the gym at the rec center is over 7 years old. Life is usually about 5 years. They're getting 29 new pieces. The Park and Recreation Board passed it unanimously that we need this new equipment. So I would like to, did anybody have any questions?
Councilman Lewis?
They speak to it, I believe, the current equipment in there
and some of them, I don't know if they have, but they're going to sell them back. He's working on selling stuff back to bring some money out to offset it, but it probably won't be around $5.
Just because of the value, especially with the cable machines, that when the cable mechanisms break, they were able to get quick.
Yeah, I mean, they've been banding some of these machines for a long time, like keeping them going, having beer come in, and they're really due. All right.
Any more questions?
All right, with that being said, I'd like to waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance number 30-2024 up for a vote.
And a second by Councilman Kramer. Roll call for suspension, please.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Cunningham.
Yes.
8 yes for its suspension.
And for passage.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
and Howard Smith.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 30-2024 has passed. Ordinance number 31-2024.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 4-2024 and section 2B occupation list of class titles of ordinance 127, 1997 by changing the name of the position police secretary to records specialist and changing the class grade pay schedule for said position and establishing and creating the position of corrections officer and establishing the class grade schedule for said position within the 305-307 Police Department and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Howard Smith.
Thank you, President Slater. So this ordinance is basically just what it said. We're consolidating and we're going to have a record specialist and we're going to have a corrections officer. And the chief has come in and explained how the meeting this will work. Did anybody have any questions? I don't know. Did you hear it? No? Okay. With that being said, I'm going to waive the rules requiring 3 readings and read ordinance number 31-2024 up for a vote.
May I have a second? Councilman Cunningham. Roll call for suspension, please.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Ray,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Lombardi.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 31-2024 has passed. Ordinance number 32-2024.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Law of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to enter into a 1-year agreement with the Village of Wilmot, Ohio, for the purpose of providing prosecutorial services and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, this is a standard agreement that the law department makes with the surrounding communities. We've passed numerous of these throughout the years. Are there any questions or discussions this evening? Seeing none, I make a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, read ordinance number 32-2024 for a vote.
Second by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call, please, for suspension.
Sneed,
Yes.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
and Ray.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
and Sneed.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution ordinance number 32-2024 has passed. Item number 8, unfinished business. I was notified by the clerk of council, inform me that Mr. Devo will be working on the installation of the new PA system beginning Monday, March 11th and March 18th. Item number 9, petitions and general communications. Seeing none, move on. Item number 10, bills, accounts, and claims.
Yes, we have a bill in the amount of $234.95 payable to U.S. Bank Equipment Finance for the March payment up for our copier, and a bill in the amount of $68.64 from Digital Edge IT for the overage charge for our copier for the period November 24th, 23 through February 23rd, 24. Total amount is $303.59.
Councilman Lewis.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second by Councilman Marty. Roll call, please.
Creamer,
Yes.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Harvard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
and Brian Booth.
Yes.
8 yes to pay the bills.
Madam Clerk, please take your response, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Reports from city officials. Auditor's report, February 2024. Need a motion on that, please? Mr. Lewis.
Make a motion to accept the auditor's report.
Second by Councilman Lombardi. Roll call, please.
Cunningham,
Yes.
Harvard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
8 yes to accept the auditor's report.
Alrighty. Item number 12, reports of committees. Our next work session will be Monday, March 11th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Number 13 on the agenda, resolutions and requests of council members. Seeing none, we'll move forward. Call the calendar. March 11th, once again, the work session. Item number 15, third reading ordinance and resolutions.
We have none.
Item number 17, remarks and delegations of citizens to matters not on the agenda. Is there anyone present this evening that would like to speak on a topic which did not appear on this agenda? If so, please come forward, state your name, the ward you live in, the topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comment to 4 minutes or less. Seeing none, I ask Councilman Brian Booth for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, second. Councilman Snead. Roll call, please.
Harvard Smith,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Brian Booth,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Cunningham.
Yes.
8 yes to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.